In this video, I'm going to discuss about competency of parties to contract. There are certain people who are not competent to contract as per Indian Contract Act. Every person who has attained majority is of sound mind and is not disqualified from contracting by any law to which he is subject is competent to contract. So some persons are not competent to contract or incompetent to contract as per this statement, and they are minors, lunatics, and the persons disqualified by law to which they are subject. In this video, I am going to cover on who is a minor, persons of unsound mind, agreements with persons of unsound mind, effects of agreements made by persons of unsound mind, about idiots, lunatics, and drunken person, and persons disqualified by law. So these are the things I'm going to cover in this video. Now the question is minor. Who is a minor? A minor is one who has not attained 18 years of age, maybe male or female, and if there is a guardian appointed for the minor's properties to look after the minor, then he remains minor till 21 years of age. Legal position regarding minor's agreement. An agreement with a minor is void altogether. It is also called as void ab initio or void from the very beginning. So it is not a valid contract. A minor can always plead minority. That is, a minor can always request that he is a minor and he can be excused. No ratification on attaining the age of majority. The agreements which minor has entered when he was minor cannot be ratified when he becomes major. The contracts for which minors benefits, if there are any contracts in which minor is supposed to get benefit, then they are valid contracts. But where minor is held liable, they are not valid. But here you have to be clear that if a minor enters into a contract for the supply of necessaries, then they are valid contract, and minor can be made liable to pay from his estate. Now, what are necessaries? Necessaries normally we mean are food, clothing, and shelter. As per Indian law, even education and training for the minor is included in the necessary, and food, clothing, and shelter is as per the living standards of the minor. Contracts by parent or guardian for minor, they are enforceable for the benefits of minors. Otherwise, they are also not enforceable. If minor enters into contract jointly with an adult, then adult will be liable on that contract and not the minor. Minor can be a partner in the partnership firm for sharing profits, but he cannot be made liable for sharing losses or contributing the capital. Uh, in case of winding up, he cannot be made liable to pay for the winding up. Minor can be an agent, but principal will be responsible. Minor can also be shareholder, but he is responsible only up to the paid up capital of the value of shares in case of winding up of the company, and the shareholders are made liable to pay for it. Minor is responsible for apprenticeship by the guardian. So, whatever is the expenditure for his apprenticeship, that is for the training, they are valid contract. Minor is liable for the supply of necessaries. If somebody supplies necessaries to the minor, then minor is liable to pay for it. And minor is liable for the tort also. A tort is a civil wrong or breach of duty. It other than under the contract leading to incurring of liability. So yeah, if minor does anything wrong, he will be held liable under the tort. Then another category of persons who are disqualified by law from entering into contract are persons of unsound mind. They are not eligible to enter into contract because they are incapable of understanding its terms. They cannot form a rational judgment. And yeah, unsoundness of mind because of variety of factors like idiocy, lunacy, insanity, intoxication, and mental festering due to old age also comes into this. Now coming to agreements with persons of unsound mind, Section 12 states that a person who is usually of unsound mind but occasionally is of sound mind can make a contract when he is of sound mind. And a person who is usually of sound mind but occasionally of unsound mind, he cannot make the contract when he is of unsound mind. So it means that this type of persons can enter into contract when they are of sound mind. When they are of unsound mind, they cannot enter into contract. And there are some idiots. Idiots are the people who are of unsound mind for most of the time, who is permanently incapable of rational judgment. Now, there is a case in Patna High Court in case of Inder Singh versus Parameshwari Singh. In this case, a property worth 25,000 was sold for 7,000 only. And the mother of the idiot proved that he was a congenital idiot and therefore he is incapable of understanding the transaction. In this case, uh, it is also important that the transaction was incognoscible, that is, it was at a very low rate compared to the market value. Of course, there is some difference, it's okay, but in this case, it was at a very high, very low rate. Uh, idiocy is by birth God given, but lunacy is not. A person may become lunatic at any stage of life. A lunatic is a person who is mentally disturbed on account of mental strain or other personal experiences. A lunatic may enter into contract when he is of sound mind. Then, agreements by intoxicated persons, that is, those who are drunk or those who are under the impact of some drugs. Now, these people are placed in the category of lunatic. So, whenever they are not drunk, when they are not under the influence of drugs, they are of sound mind and they can enter into contract. But when they are not of sound mind, then they cannot enter into contract. The burden of proof on or the presence or absence of soundness at the time of making contract is a question of fact that is decided by the court of law. When a person is usually of sound mind, the burden of proving that he was of unsound mind at the time of executing the document lies on him, who challenges the validity of the contract. So, if lunatic challenges the validity of the contract, he has to prove that he was not of sound mind, or if the other party challenges it, then he has to prove the same. Then there are certain other people who are disqualified by law from entering into contract, and they are alien enemies. Alien is not the one who has come from another planet, as in movies it is shown the aliens. In this case, alien is a foreigner, and alien enemy is one who is from the country in which with which our country is at war. So when war breaks out, such foreigners are called as alien enemies, and the contract is void at that time. Convicts are also not qualified to enter into contract, but they may enter into contract when their sentence expires, during their parole, or remission of legal consequences of their crime. Then there are other persons who are disqualified from by law. They are undischarged insolvents. Insolvents are those who are not capable of paying their debts. But those who become insolvent need not remain insolvent forever. They may become solvent, but they have to be discharged from insolvency. So, as long as they are not discharged from insolvency, they are not eligible for entering into contract. Foreign sovereigns and ambassadors, they cannot be legally sued in the Indian courts, and therefore they cannot enter into contract, but in their personal capacity they can enter into the contract. Then joint stock companies and statutory corporations. Uh, this first coming discussing about joint stock companies, they can enter into contracts only if they are permitted, if it is within the boundaries given by the memorandum of association or MOA. If it goes beyond that, such contracts are ultra virus or void. Similarly, statutory corporations, they are formed by an act of parliament, and they can enter into only such contracts which they are permitted by the act of the parliament. So this is about the competency of parties in the contract. Thanks all of you for watching. Any comments, suggestions, please put it in the comment section.